And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Cheap Ludes, and I am back with another video for you guys. So today we're going to be counting down the top 10 budget cards in NBA 2K21 My Team. So at this stage, what constitutes a budget card for me is anything under 25k MT. This list isn't going to be filled with like guys who are like 20 or anything. I do have a good mix up between guys who are like 5 or 6k, guys who are like 20 to 25k. So we're going to start with like 5 honorable mentions and then get into the actual top 10. So we'll start with the first honorable mention. It's a card you're probably shocked to even see on here, and that's Kyle Anderson. Look, I was a little like even iffy on putting him up here. First off, this man has the most receding of receding hairlines, which is sweet. He actually kind of looks like Megamind, and not in a bad way, like a tight way. Pretty good stats-wise. I mean, he's not like a dark matter. He's not going to be 95 plus anything, but honestly, like, especially if you're over on next gen, like, stats don't really mean anything anyway. Great badge count. He is missing a couple important shooting badges that I'd like to highlight, like flexible release and Deadeye, but he's 6'9". He's got a great jump shot. In my opinion, I like it a lot. He also plays like really good defense, and he has great defensive animations and tendencies. Like, this card kind of fell under the radar just because we're in the era of Dark Matters, that people don't really talk about this Kyle Anderson card, but he's really, really good. He's got Brook Lopez base too, which I think is nice on a small forward, shockingly. Next honorable mention would be a card that I've talked about many times at this point in this series, and that's Kevin Love. There's not really much more to say about this card than I already haven't said. If you're looking for a big man that's basically just going to be a pure rebounder and three-point shooter with a little bit of ball handling thrown in the mix, look no further. Like, Kevin Love's got a really stocky player build too, so he boxes out really well. He's not the most mobile guy in the world. You know, you're not going to be boosting and Curry sliding around with with Kevin Love or anything, but I mean, other than that, he's great. Kevin Love based on very quick is very good as well. Next honorable mention, Larry Bird. I mean, look, another guy I don't really have to talk to too much. We've gotten like 47 Larry Bird cards in 2K21. You guys kind of know what's up with Larry Bird. He's not much different than the point guard Larry Bird we got out of position 2, I believe. He just plays this proper position of small forward, power forward. If you're looking for a cheap Larry Bird card, this is a good card. He's a great 3-and-D guy. He moves pretty decent. His jump shot is pretty solid, though I do have some issues with it occasionally. That's just me, though. Like, Larry Bird in general, his jump shot does give me some problems from time to time. Because he does have that Larry Bird base, and it shoots with a lot of arc, so you are going to miss a lot of whites on current gen. Something to take into account. Next up, Devin Booker. The only reason he's really in honorable mentions because there's a guy on the actual list that does everything Booker does, just slightly better, in my opinion. I've also just talked about this card so much because he's been a part of like so many events and locker codes and stuff like that. So 6'6", pretty good release. I mean, there's nothing really bad about this card. There's also nothing really like incredibly great. He's just like a very good card. He plays pretty well at point guard or shooting guard, whatever you're looking for. And then the final honorable mention is Glenn Rice. Like, Glenn Rice is actually sick. He's one of those forgotten dark matters. And people don't really talk about this card, but he is a 6'7" pure shooter. He plays decent enough defense. Obviously, he's got long arms, 6'7" frame. Like, Glenn Rice is one of the best pure shooters in 2K typically. Like, that's kind of what's up with him. And that's really no different this time. He's got base 13, which is the same as another guy that's going to be on this list later. In addition to like Danny Green, Malik Beasley. Pretty altogether really good jump shot. I'm glad he doesn't have base 98 because I kind of have my own issues with base 98 this year, especially over on current gen. And I'm actually glad that he doesn't, because if he had base 98, he'd be like 80k. But he has a release that's honestly just as quick, and for some people might be better. And he's a fraction of the price because of that. So it's kind of a good thing in my opinion anyway. Maybe you don't think the same, but I generally do. So let's get on to the actual list with number 10, DeAndre Ayton. Now, the reason he's on this list, he is a relatively good card, especially if you're playing offline grinds. Like, if you're grinding the domination CPU, especially the last domination, DeAndre Ayton's really, really good for that. Like, he's got a big player build. He's 7'1". He grabs a lot of rebounds. He can move pretty well. He's also really cheap. You can get him around the 10 to 15K mark, which I think is a very, very good price for him. I am right now putting together a budget squad to use in domination, and DeAndre Ayton is a part of that. I will say that right now. He's just altogether okay. He's not the greatest shooter. That's really his only, like, I don't know. It's not even really a negative. It's not like he's a bad shooter or anything. He's playing, like, not very good in the finals right now. But this card, on the other hand, is real solid. Like, especially for a center that you can buy for 15K. Typically, they're not very good, especially this year. Like, this year, we've had a big problem with budget big men. Outside of your Dino Rajas and Murasan and stuff, there really hasn't been that many good budget guys. So it's nice to see a decent one. Next up on the list is Clyde Drexler at number 9. I've talked about this card way too much as well. He's a do-it-all shooting guard / wing. Pretty much anything you ask of Clyde Drexler, he'll be able to do it. Regardless what role you want to put him in, you want him as a 3-and-D cone, he can do that. You want him as like a facilitator, he can do that. You want him as somebody to attack the rim, he can do that. If you're looking for that, he can do it all. Number 8 is a new card. Larry Johnson. He's got the same base as Glenn Rice. Very, very good. It's super quick. It's super smooth out of Larry Johnson's hands. He can play the power forward. I honestly prefer him at the small forward with that 6'7". Like, it just makes more sense, but he is super, super well-rounded. He's got a really thick player build too, like very like wide shoulders, kind of similar to like Kawhi and some of those other guys. So he triggers those defensive contact animations like a lot better than some of the skinnier guys will do, if that makes sense at all. 2K is all about hitboxes and animations, so when you have guys with bigger player builds, that's why they typically have better defensive animations. That's why Kawhi's always so good, because he's got like wide shoulders, like width-wise. His, like, for lack of a better term, hitbox is a lot bigger than some of the other guys. Same thing will happen with Larry Johnson too. He's not quite as good as Kawhi defensively because he doesn't have those steal animations that Kawhi has, but Larry Johnson is really good at almost everything. This card is basically identical to the unlimited reward one from a season ago. 2 seasons ago, I think. Number 7, Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose has 52 Hoff badges. By the way, I'm back over on current gen. I'm still trying to get that limited ring. It literally will not show up. 6'8" point guard. He plays really well at the point guard. He also plays really well at the small forward. So depending where you need a player, he can play both positions in both roles really well. Smooth jump shot. Like, I'm actually a big fan of it. I know some people are not, but I like it a lot. I think it works well on both gens. It's not one of those jump shots that's better on one gen or the other. I think it's pretty equal on both of them. That jump shot 32, same as like Rajon Rondo and Lonnie Walker. Yeah, DeAndre Hunter and stuff like that. Nick Anderson has it as well. By the way, shout out to that Opal, Nick Anderson. I need it. Jalen Rose is one of the best budget point guards that you can buy in this game for under 10K. You can pick him up for like 7K. If you're looking for that kind of card, right there, man. Jalen Rose is sick. Next up, number 6, Ray Allen. Specifically the Idols Ray Allen. Now, to all my people over on Next Gen, that's the reason he's lower on this is because he is pretty good on Next Gen. He doesn't have that blinders, which is like, I honestly think people do overhype blinders a little bit. I know it is an important badge, but people will talk about a card that doesn't have blinders and act like it just sucks, but it's like not the case. But this is the only Ray Allen that you can pick up without Steady Shooter over on current gen. At least for this price point, for sure. I can't remember. I think the Enshrined one has Hall of Fame blinders, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check on that. But I'm pretty sure it does, though. Either way, this Ray Allen's really good. Like, Ray Allen base makes the most whites in the game in regards to current gen. So having a card like that is always very beneficial. And yes, Enshrined does have that. Next up is Brandon Roy. The card I was referencing when I said that there was a better version of Devin Booker for about the same price was Brandon Roy. I personally think he's better. I'm guessing a lot of that really comes from my bias towards Trey Burke base. So it really could be the opposite for you. You could prefer Devin Booker. I'm not going to sit here and drone on about Brandon Roy for too long, but he's a beast. If you're looking for a combo guard, pick him up. Number 4, Dominique Wilkins. He's, I think, the most expensive card on this list at $23,000. And I would say he's worth every single penny. Remember what I was saying about Larry Johnson, that stocky player build where he'll trigger those defensive animations? Well, Dominique Wilkins does the same thing, in addition to basically dunking over every single person and having 60 Hoff badges for like no reason whatsoever. He's basically invincible Dominique Wilkins. They weren't going to give us invincible, so they just made this one invincible. Jump Shot 8's pretty good. Him and Marquise Johnson are the only two cards that have it. It's actually relatively good. If you have Dikembe Mutombo, he does get a dynamic duo. I'll be honest, it doesn't really do too much, but like it's pretty good, I guess. He's a very well-adjusted, like well-rounded shooting guard. He's like a better version of Clyde Drexler. Number 3. Come on, you knew Klay Thompson was popping up here at some point. Space Jam Klay Thompson. You can get this card for $17K, and he's stupid. He's one of the best 3-and-D cards in the game, period. And you can get him for like $17K. Now, the Klay Thompson glitch does exist. For the most part, I haven't heard about it in a while, so I'll have to run some tests on current gen to see if it's still a problem. Last I checked, it wasn't, but you never really know with 2K. So something to keep in the back of your mind. He may switch over and guard the center for no reason sometimes. Not really sure on that, but either way, like, he has one of the, I would say, the best catch and shoot release in the game, like consensus wise. People will say Exum based, but I really think Klay Thompson's is the best. Shout out to Matt Bonner. Pure 3-and-D cone, but a card that elite for that cheap, they don't come around every once in a while. Or they only come around every once in a while, I should say. Number 2, come on, bro. You're on Cheap Loot's channel. You think number 2 wasn't going to be a mid-2000s combo forward? It absolutely was going to be a mid-2000s combo forward. It's Darius Miles. Come on, man. My man has straight backs. He's 6'9". He played in the 2000s, and he can play shooting guard and point guard. Like, Darius Miles is sick. I've always wanted his hair, but, you know, as a Caucasian gentleman, it doesn't look right. I'll end up looking like that meme of that kid who dressed like Allen Iverson. That's what I'll end up looking like, which is unfortunate. Darius Miles is just really good altogether, though. Once again, with like a lot of these point guard, shooting guard, out of position guys, like I honestly think they all kind of play better at shooting guard. That's just me, though. But he plays like well enough at point guard. You'll see him featured heavily in my budget domination squad. Really good card altogether, though. Jump Shot 65 is nice. I like it. And number 1 is Sean Bradley. All right. So, like, I don't think Sean Bradley's as good as I've seen content creators hail him. That's just how I feel. Like, he's not the greatest card in my team history. He's not even the greatest card in this game. People get a little crazy with the recency bias sometimes. Like, yeah, he's a 7'6" center that can curry slide. I get it. I understand. But he has some like very noticeable flaws. He has no post moves, like, which is kind of whack. The dunk stuff's not that big of a deal. He's not a good passer at all. He's not even really that good defensively, though. At the same time, on next gen, it doesn't really matter. But like, people need to stop getting ahead of themselves. He is the best center that you can buy for under 10K. But for all intents and purposes, like, although he is slightly better, I don't think he's really that much better than George Mirasan, depending on the way you play. Right? If you're not into boosting and you don't curry slide a lot, you know, he's not that much better than Mirasan. Mirasan might actually be better. But obviously, if you do play in the meta way with a lot of boosts, a lot of curry slides and stuff like that, obviously Sean Bradley is better. But Sean Bradley's still a monster for the price that you can pick him up at. So don't discount him too much, but also don't raise his value that much, if that makes sense. As always, it has been your boy Cheap Ludes. I'll be back with more content later for you guys. I appreciate everyone who watches the channel. Hit that subscribe button, cuz. I'll see you in the next one.